It's November 2025. The headlines are dominated by one story: the arrest of Shebeshixt in connection with an alleged road rage shooting in Polokwane. According to reports, the incident took place on October 19, 2025, at a petrol station, where an argument between the rapper and another motorist escalated dramatically. Police alleged that Shebeshixt shot the motorist in the stomach. After a heated verbal exchange, the victim was rushed to hospital in critical condition. And though he remains alive, his recovery has been described as uncertain. Following the incident, Shebeshixt initially presented himself to police along his legal representatives and was released pending investigation. But the situation changed on November 12, when officers from the Limpopo Murder and Robbery Unit arrested him formally at his Bendo residence. This move by law enforcement signaled a significant escalation in the case, turning what some initially viewed as another celebrity alteration into a potential career-ending criminal charge. For investigators, the involvement of a specialized unit indicated the seriousness of the matter. The presence of a firearm, a critically injured civilian, and a public setting transformed the case from a scandal into a violent crime investigation. And while Shebeshixt was granted bail after his hearing on November 14th, the conditions surrounding his release remain strict, with the ongoing investigation determining what happens next. If the victim's health were to worsen or if prosecutors upgraded the charges, the legal consequences could shift dramatically from attempted murder to murder. But this arrest wasn't an isolated event. It was instead the latest in a long pattern of escalating behavior, one that industry observers say had been developing for years. To understand the current crisis, it's necessary to trace the series of incidents that led here. The first major legal trouble for Shebeshixt dates back to 2022, when he faced attempted murder and firearm charges after allegedly stabbing a man in Libuahomu, Limpopo. The case intensified after police accused him of discharging a firearm at a family home in Kgamamulo village. His bail was denied at the time, resulting in several months behind bars. He was eventually released in August 2023, and though the firearm charges were later withdrawn, the episode marked a major turning point in his public image, from rising star to repeat offender. Analysts have since noted that his ability to walk away from that case without a severe sentence may have created what experts describe as an impunity feedback loop. In simple terms, it suggested that serious actors of violence might not have lasting consequences. This perception, they argue, may have emboldened further reckless behavior. By late 2023, new legal and professional issues emerged in Botswana. The rapper faced a breach of contract lawsuit after failing to appear at a scheduled performance for the Simple Piano music show. The organizers filed legal action, leading the Lopatse Magistrates Court to order Shebeshixt to surrender his travel documents pending the outcome of the case. The move revealed another side to his growing instability, not just violent behavior, but professional unreliability. Then, in early 2025, Shebeshixt once again found himself at the center of public scrutiny after a viral video showed him brandishing a large knife during an argument. The clip sparked outrage online and calls for him to be cancelled. Instead of acknowledging the gravity of the situation, he reportedly dismissed the moment as a skit, minimizing the act as a joke. For many, that response confirmed an unsettling pattern: a lack of accountability, a blurring between performance and real-life aggression, and a disregard for the reputational damage accumulating with each controversy. The October 2025 shooting in Polokwane, therefore, wasn't a shocking departure. It was a culmination, a predictable climax to a trajectory that had been steadily building for 3 years. Behind the scenes, this string of legal trouble has created immense tension for the businesses connected with him. When Vision Music Group signed Shebeshixt to a global distribution deal in July 2025, it was seen as a milestone moment for Limpopo's emerging music scene. The agreement gave him control over his music catalog and promised international reach through Vision's marketing infrastructure. But only months later, that partnership now hangs in limbo. Attempted murder charges, combined with the public nature of the incident, have turned the deal into a corporate liability. For Vision Music, any active association with a high-profile artist facing violent crime allegations possesses a reputational threat that no brand can afford. Similarly, his earlier endorsement deal with Lamborghini Wines, a luxury Italian brand, now appears incompatible with his current public image. A brand built on sophistication and exclusivity cannot coexist with headlines of gun violence and criminal charges. Industry insiders suggest that the partnership has effectively been suspended, if not quite terminated altogether. This commercial fallout reveals a large truth about modern celebrity branding. Companies are willing to associate with edge, rebellious persons, but only within controlled limits. The moment those behaviors cross into real-world violence, tolerance disappears. In Shebeshict's case, the rebel image that one drew fans and corporate interests hence invented, transforming from a selling point into a warning sign. The very authenticity that made him marketable has now made him untouchable. The impact extends beyond his personal career. His label, Topless Femme, which recently partnered with Vision Music to distribute upcoming talent like Nakwa SA, now faces collateral damage. Industry observers warn that corporate entities may distance themselves not only from Shebeshikt but from any artist directly affiliated with his brand. The result could be a domino effect where emerging acts lose opportunities simply by association. At its at its peak, Shebeshik's popularity seemed unstoppable. Known for his unfiltered lyrics, strict inspired style, and viral charisma, he became a cultural voice for youth in Limpopo and beyond. His music resonated because it felt raw, unpolished, and real, a direct reflection of life in the townships. But in an industry built on image, perception is everything. The same authenticity that drew crowds is now the very reason sponsors, media platforms, and promoters are backing away. The current crisis also raises difficult questions about South Africans' entertainment culture about fame, violence, and accountability. There's a long tradition of artists who embodied rebellion using music to express social frustration. But what happens when the rebellion turns literally, when art and aggression become indistinguishable? Export Experts points to local pres- precedents. In the early 2000s, Kwaito artist Zola 7 navigated a similar space, rising from the township, singing about hardship and struggle. But unlike Shebeshet, Zola managed to evolve. He transformed his notoriety into community activism, becoming a mentor and philanthropist. His story demonstrated that redemption is possible, but only through self awareness and public responsibility. In contrast, Shebesh's continued defiance and repeated brushes with violence show no signs of transformation. Another layer of history lies in South Africa's broader social context. The country continues to grapple with high level of violent crime and gender-based violence issues that dominate public discourse. In such an environment, celebrities who glorify aggression or fail to condemn it risk public injection, not because of moral panic, but because their behavior contradicts national efforts to address real social pain. In these lights, Shebeshet's repeated involvement in violence incident feels not just reckless, but deeply out of step with the cultural movement. Intentionally, there are few successful examples of artists recovering from allegations involving severe violence, while some, like American R&B singer Chris Brown, have maintained fan bases after serious charges. Their commercial appeal never fully returned to previous levels. Others, like metal frontman Tim Lampesis, convicted in a murder plot, saw their careers end entirely. The global music industry tends to draw a hard line when violent crimes are involved, especially when innocent victims are at the center of the story. For Shebeshet, this pattern is repeating itself on a South African stage. Even if he avoids a lengthy prison sentence, the legal, financial, and reputational consequences could take years to undo. Legal experts note that bail is only a temporary reprieve. The charges remain severe, and the state's case built around eyewitnessing accounts and ballistic evidence will determine whether he faces long-term incarceration. Meanwhile, sponsors have already begun disengaging quietly. Industry insiders suggest that most event promoters are hesitant to book him for performances due to public safety concerns and the uncertainty surrounding his legal status. Without live shows, the primary source of income for many artists, his venue stream could collapse. For a performer whose rise was rooted in energetic public appearances, that financial blow could be devastating. Behind all of this lies the tragic irony of a career that once symbolized possibility. Shebeshikt's accent represented a new chapter for Limpopo's music scene, a rare success story for artists operating outside Johannesburg's mainstream industry. His collaborations, viral lifestyles, and unapologetic presence gave hope to many young musicians in smaller provinces. But today, that hope is overshadowed by the consequences. Legal analysts describe his current position as critical but not yet terminal. Out on bail, he remains free to perform and release music, at least for now. However, the outcome of the case will likely determine everything if the victim recovers and charges remain at the attempted murder level. There is still a narrow path toward rehabilitation, though it would require an extraordinary effort at rebuilding trust. This would mean public accountability, professional restructuring, and psychological counseling, steps that, so far, he has not publicly committed to. Even then, recovering brand value after such a case is rare. Corporate sponsors operate under morality clauses, which allow them to terminate contracts in cases involving violence or criminal behavior. Virgin Music, Lamborghini Wines, and other partners would be expected to enforce these clauses swiftly, both to protect their own reputations and to send a public message of zero tolerance for violence. Without these partners, Shebeshikt's career would revert entirely to an independent model, self-funded, unsupported, and stripped of international access. From a pure business standpoint, the numbers don't favor him. The cost of a sustained legal defense,